Hello, hello. Welcome to How to Shift from Self-Doubt to Confidence so you can share your gifts with the world, or as I like to call it, 3 ways to shift from self-doubt to confidence. So today we're going to talk about strategies, really practical ways that you can move through self-doubt because this is the number one obstacle that I hear from coaches, entrepreneurs that are, at every stage of business, really, especially in the earlier stages. But honestly, at every stage, there are different versions of fears and self doubt that can come up. I think we just get better at moving through them the more experience we get and the more confidence we have. I know that's been my experience. So I want to speak to some of the common fears, doubts that I hear from others or that I experienced in my own journey. And as I'm sharing these, if you are watching this live or watching the replay, I'd love for you to share in the chat if you relate to one of them. Okay. So I'm going to go through 5 different, almost like categories of those limiting beliefs and thoughts, and I'll tell you which number we're on. And if you relate, then I'm going to have you drop that number in the chat to basically say, I relate to this one. So I know that those of you watching, what is it that's coming up for you? So the first one is, so many people are doing this already. Who am I to think I can be successful at this, or it's all been done before? So this would be number one. If you relate to any of those, you'll put a 1 in the chat. And this is really like the comparison trap, you might call it, right? A lot of us struggle with comparison. We have an idea, we feel excited about it, whether it's coaching or some other kind of business, and we start going out there and researching online, and we see, oh my gosh, a lot of other people are doing this already. It's not just us. And what if there's not a market for it, or who am I to think that I'm going to be any better at it than these other people, right? And it's scary. It feels like, oh, it's all been done before. So if you ever feel this way, type 1 in the chat. And this is a very, very common one. It's one that I struggled with, and it's one I hear from my clients all the time. No matter how successful they've been in other things, when they go to start something new, those are the kinds of fears and thoughts and the scrolling and comparison that starts to happen. Number 2, what if I'm not really good at this? Right? What if I can't change people's lives the way I want to? I was just on a call with someone the other day. She's been doing certifications for 10 years. 10 years of certifications, not to mention her entire career, I think 20 something years, has been in, psychology and in all these different modalities that are related to what she wants to do. And yet, when it comes to actually turning that into a business at this stage, she still had fears and doubts of, what if I'm not really good at this, right? What if I can't change people's lives the way I want to? And this is so common, you guys. It's not just her, it's not just you. So many people struggle with this one. So if you relate to that, like, what if I'm not good at this or as good as I want to be, then type a 2 in the chat. So Lisa's saying she relates to number 1. Yeah, such a common one, right? And I don't mean common in that it downplays what you're going through. I totally get it. Feels real to you and it feels scary, and I've been there. But I mean common in the sense that you're not alone, that a lot of other people are struggling with this, and it is what takes so many people out of the game. So we've covered number 1, so many people are doing this already, kind of the comparison trap. We've covered number 2, what if I'm not really as good at this as I think I am, or that I think I can be? What if I can't change people's lives the way I want to? So number 3 is, what if I put myself out there and people don't want what I have to offer? Yeah, what if people won't pay what I want to charge or what I need to charge to make this a viable business? So this is kind of like, if the first one is comparison and the second one is like the value or that you're going to bring, then this one is like kind of like rejection or It's around the money a little bit more, like what if people don't want what I have to offer? It's kind of more rejection or don't want to pay that much around the money. So that would be number 3. If you relate to any of those, put a 3 in the chat. Number 4, what if people make fun of me or judge me for putting myself out there? This is more around the visibility piece of like getting visible on social media. What if I do that? Or what if I put myself out there as a coach or an entrepreneur, share my new idea, and people judge me or people make fun of me or they say I can't do it? Yeah, so kind of worrying about what other people might think. That would be number 4. So if you're just joining us now, we're going through different kind of categories of self-doubt because I want to see what you relate to. So far, Lisa said she relates to number 1, which is more the comparison one, but I want to hear from you all. Put the number in the chat as you're listening. What do you relate to? Number 5, what if I give this my all and I don't succeed? What if I go broke? So this is like the fear of failure, right? The fear of going for it and falling flat on your face, or going for it and not making the money that you need to make. So if you relate to that one, put a 5 in the chat. Okay, so lots of versions of self-doubt. I'm sure there's even more that I haven't covered here. And so I want you to really see what is it that's coming up for you. And I want to really stress and emphasize that these thoughts and these kinds of thoughts are the biggest roadblock that I see in entrepreneurship, even more so than not having the right strategy to grow your business, which is what most people want to follow or find or kind of pay attention to, is the mindset piece. And I would say the two often go hand in hand. Often there's some aspect of needing a better strategy, and then there's needing to get the mindset on track. So today we're talking about the mindset, and it keeps so many brilliant people playing small in their lives and in their businesses. So we see this all the time with our clients, and I've been there myself. I had so many fears and doubts when I started my coaching business. I thought, what if I don't have what it takes to change lives? I don't even know if I want to put myself out there online. And what if I go for this and fail? Because as some of you know, I did that and I did fail the first time I tried to start my coaching business in 2017. So my confidence was really shook, and I thought maybe I'm not supposed to do this. And I'm so glad now that I worked through those fears and I kept going. So here I am about 5 years later, running a multiple 6-figure coaching business. And the truth is that the fears and doubts haven't completely gone away. They haven't completely disappeared, but they've just changed into new ones in some cases. And I've gotten better at moving through them so they no longer hold me back from pursuing my dreams. And that's what I want for you is it's not that they're just going to disappear. It's human nature, which I'll talk about in a moment, that when we're going for something, when we're growing, it's going to challenge us, right? It's going to bring up fears and doubts because, and this is where I want to really begin today. If you're taking notes, you want to write this down, is that fear and self-doubt are normal. Fear and self-doubt are normal. And it's actually the way our brains are wired. It's part of your brain trying to keep you safe. So there is a part of our brain that says, and I don't know the technical which part is which, but the way our brains are wired is really designed to keep us safe, right? That if there's a bear out there, we don't go out there, and we don't, leave the cave, so to speak. And so, if you are safe where you are right now, if you're not hungry and you're relatively like doing well, then your brain is going to stay. Don't make any big changes, because that is what it is wired to do. So whenever we go to something unknown, then you're going to experience fear and doubt. It is keeping you safe. You guys get that? So again, fear and self-doubt are normal. It's the way the brain is wired. And the key is to not buy into these fears and doubts and not let them keep you stuck. And that is what we're talking about today. I'm going to get into the 3 strategies that, the ways to overcome self-doubt. So make sure you have a way to take notes if you're watching. Can you just let me know, you guys that are watching live, that you can still see and hear me? Just say I see you in the chat, so I know that everything's working, sound is good. I like to just do some regular checks there. Okay, everybody ready to take notes on 3 ways to overcome self-doubt? Number one, write it out. I want you to write 2 things. First, I want you to write out, what do you want? In other words, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? What would you do? If I knew I couldn't fail, what would I do? And then if I knew I would be wildly successful, what would I do? And those are very similar questions, but they might get you different answers. Yeah? So important to look at both. If you knew you couldn't fail and if you knew you'd be wildly successful, what would you do? So you're not going to do that right in this moment. You'll probably do it when you get off of the video. But if you know off the top of your head, share in the chat. What is something, if you knew you couldn't fail or you knew you'd be wildly successful, what would you do? Go ahead and share one thing in the chat to get us into action here. And then when you get off of the live today, you can finish writing your list, your visions, the things that you would really want. And then on the other side, once you've written what do you want, you're going to write what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? So give your fears and doubts a voice to speak versus just trying to push them down. So in other words, here's one way of asking this question. You can just say, what am I afraid of? Or you could say, what's the worst that could happen? Like, what am I scared of that really feels like the worst that could happen? And I want you to really write it out and walk yourself all the way through your fears, all the way through your fears. And why is this important to do? Is most of the time we avoid our fears. It's like they're there all the time. We feel the fear, we feel the self-doubt, but we don't want to look deeply into exactly what it is we are actually afraid of. You guys get this? If so, say getting it in the chat. So we want to look at what you want. We also want to look at what is holding you back. What are you actually afraid is going to happen? And once you write it down and get it on paper, you might be like, oh, that's silly. Or you might be like, yeah, that really feels like a valid fear. Yeah, I'm really scared of that. And that's okay. You want to walk yourself through it. And finally, you're going to really look and see if that were to happen. Like, is this a possibility? Because a lot of our fears are rooted in truth. They're rooted in, not truth, but they're rooted in possibility. And so if you write it out and you go, yeah, that could happen. People could judge me. I could go broke. I could fail and fall flat on my face, right? Whatever it is for you, are you willing to do it anyway? Are you willing to go for it anyway? Like, finally, it's like, am I willing to put myself out there even if people judge me? And if the answer is no, that would crush me, then maybe it's not the right thing or not the right thing right now, right? Or maybe you need to get a coach or get some support to move through those fears. But if you can walk yourself through and you go, you know what? No, I think it would be challenging, but I think I could get through that and I'm willing to go for it anyway. That gives you so much clarity. You've just walked yourself through a fear. You guys getting this? Yeah? Awesome, Portia. Thanks for the engagement. So I know we're landing here. So again, step number one or tip number one today is write it out. You're going to write out, what do you want? What are you afraid of? And if that thing were to happen, are you still willing to go for it anyway? Right? Even with that being a possibility. Point number two, the second way to move through self-doubt is to make friends with your fear. What do I mean by this? Making friends with your fear. Your fear is not going to go anywhere. Period. And not really, period, because the truth is it is going to get less. But it's not going to get less by you working yourself out of it in your head. Okay, so this is the biggest misconception about self-doubt is people think that they can mindset themselves out of self-doubt. Here's the thing, the mindset work is very important. For a short time, you need to walk yourself through certain things like the writing I'm talking about here or the other steps I'm going to talk about, and then you have to go, you know what? I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway. Because action is actually where self-doubt diminishes. That's the bottom line. I do not know anyone who purely through the mindset work mindseted themselves out. I'm turning it into a verb now. Mindseted themselves out of self-doubt and fear, and it just poof disappeared, and they never dealt with it again. And they just everything the clouds parted, and they were able to do everything they ever wanted to do. That is not the way it works. Here's how it works. You do the mindset work, but you don't get stuck there, right? You take the processes, you work through them, and then you go out and you take the actions you're scared to take. And you see that no lions and bears come eat you. Or, yeah, maybe you have some failures, you fall down, you pick yourself back up, you're still okay. And then you go, huh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. You realize that the lions and bears are worse in your mind than they would ever be in real life. You are okay. The action, yeah, Portia, that's exactly right. The action creates the change. The action creates the courage. It's not courage and then action and then result. It is action. Oh, wait, I'm still okay. A little more courage. Action again, a little more courage. And recognizing that fear is not a bad thing. It's actually a sign that you're growing. It's actually a sign that you're moving in a direction that is making you grow. And if you feel like you're in alignment with what you're meant to do, then that's right on. That's the direction you want to go. So step number 2 is to make friends with your fear. Number 1 was to write it out. What do you want? What are you afraid of? Can you get okay with that possibility and go for it anyway? Step 2 is to recognize that fear is a sign you're moving out of your comfort zone. It's a good sign. And action creates courage, not the other way around. The third step is what I call the self-doubt switch. And before I get into this step, I want to just talk a little bit about my fears when I got started. And again, I still have fears and doubts that come up. They've just changed, or they've, some of them have lessened and new ones have shown up, and I have tools and strategies for working through them now. So when I first started my coaching business, I was terrified of the idea of putting myself out there. I'm going to use this as one example. I had many fears, okay? All the fears I listed pretty much at the beginning of this video, I was struggling with in one way or another. So I worried what people would think. I worried, about what if I'm not really good at this? What if people don't want what I have to offer? I feel like there's so many other coaches out there. What if I don't succeed? What if I go broke? All of those fears, right? But a big one for me that was getting in the way, and I'm curious if this is something that's showing up for you guys as well, was the fear of visibility, of putting myself out there. And what I mean by that is like posting on social media, and not just posting on social media, because some people get caught up and stuck there and then they don't want to. It's like going out and actually having conversations with people, to invite them to come in and work with me, right? We call these, instead of making sales, we call it making invitations. Making those invitations terrified me. And so I'm going to sum all that up as the fear of visibility, the fear of being visible and vulnerable in sharing what it is you do, in putting yourself out there. Does anybody relate to this fear? If so, say I relate in the chat, because it's one that I hear a lot. And even if you're posting a lot on social media, it's like some people even hide there. They're posting, but they're not actually having conversations with people and making invitations. So this one's sneaky, right? It shows up in different ways for different people. Some people just don't want to post in the first place. So the fear of visibility was a really big one, and the comparing myself to others. And every time I went to post or create content or, reach out to somebody, I felt so much resistance. I just didn't want to do it. And so I went to my mentor, Gigi Sage, who is also my business partner now. And she really guided me through a shift, what I call the self-doubt switch, which was the pivotal switch in my mind that helped me go from struggling with, a fear, all these fears and doubts, basically feeling paralyzed, to being ready, or at least willing, to put myself out there again and again. Yeah, whether that was putting a post up online, recording a video, having an enrollment conversation, doing a speech, or getting on a podcast. Now, fast forward to today, and I get so much joy out of these things. I really love them. Like, if I could spend most of my days, like, doing what I'm doing right now, getting on lives and talking to you guys, I do spend a lot of my days, right? Either on lives, posting social, writing social media content, um, I coach a lot, so I'm actually in coaching conversations, of course, with all my clients. What else? Working on speeches, podcasts, those kinds of things. That is my sweet spot now. I love it, but that was not always the case. I was terrified. So how did that change so drastically and so dramatically in just, really a few months? I would say within a year to 2 years, I had had a huge change in that. And so there's really two parts to the self doubt switch, which I'll share with you. And yeah, I'm getting a lot of I relate in the chat. So that's great. Not great that you relate, but great that it's landing for you all. So, two parts to the self doubt switch. There's a mindset shift, which I said we don't want to get stuck there, but you do have to make the mindset shift first. And then I really eventually turned this into, it's actually kind of like a process you can lead yourself through, but I actually turned it into a guided visualization because I don't know about you guys, but it's like it's in that moment right before I do the thing that I get stuck. Does anybody relate to that? It's like I sit down to write the social media post and I'm like clam up. I don't know what to say. I don't know, like all those fears come up. Or I'm I'm going to get on a podcast, or I'm going to go reach out to somebody, or I'm going to have an enrollment call. And it's like in the moment, it's hard to sometimes mindset yourself out of it. And so I actually turned this into a guided process because I would lead myself through it all the time. I started really like before I would sit down to do an hour of like outreaching to people and, pitching podcasts or whatever it was, I would do this process, and it helped me so much that I actually recorded it as a guided kind of audio, called the self-doubt switch. So let's just see. Lisa said, yes, the fear of success, not being happy even when you do what you love. I'm curious, Lisa, how does that show up for you? Because the fear of success, tell me a little bit about that. I'm not sure if that's something that I really touched on here, but maybe I did. I don't remember. So, not being happy even when you do what you love. What do you mean by that? Tell me a little bit more. Maybe I can get a little bit of coaching around that. And anyone else, like Portia, I know you're quite active in the chat here as well. Do you have any questions before I kind of close out this third tip here? And we'll be wrapping up at about the half-hour point here. So I want to make sure if you guys do have specific fears or questions that are coming up, that I'm answering them. So I'll give you just a second in the chat to do that. And I'll just recap what we've done so far. So first, we really talked about the different categories of fears and self-doubt that show up. And I numbered those 1 through 5. If you missed that, you can go back and listen. Then we talked about normalizing fear and self-doubt, that they're completely normal. They're actually your brain just trying to keep you safe. And that is actually a good sign that you are expanding beyond your comfort zone. And then we talked about 3 ways to overcome fear and self-doubt. We're still on the third one. The first one was writing out, what do you really want? I gave you some questions around that. What are you afraid of? And walking through your fear. And are you willing to go for it anyway? The second one was really making friends with your fear, realizing if you're on a growth path, it's not going to go away, and not letting it take you out of the game, and knowing that courage comes after action, not the other way around. So it's action and then courage. And now we're on the self-doubt switch. So Lisa says, my fear is being so stressed trying to get started that I can't move ahead. Yeah, and we see a lot of these kinds of paralyzing, they feel paralyzing, right? And so definitely, Lisa, I would walk through the processes I've shared today, and then the self-doubt switch, which I'm sharing now, I think is going to help you a lot. And a lot of times it is getting support of some kind, because I always say I would have quit 1,000 times if not for having, it's like these processes were helpful. I use them again and again and again. So you can start there, but then it really is often finding a trusted mentor or guide that you can work with, because it's having someone you can reach out to in those moments when those fears and doubts come up that's going to hold you accountable to your dreams. And that is what made, I would say, the biggest difference for me in the long run, apart from what I'm teaching you today. So hopefully that lands for you. Okay, so back to the self-doubt switch. So there's the mindset shift and there's the guided visualization. And you can use these, like I said, before you post online, before you record a video, before an enrollment call, before a speech or podcast, in any of those moments when you do feel paralyzed, like you're saying, Lisa, when you're like, I can't even start, I'm stopping before I start, that's when you can use these. And this is what helped me finally really quiet my inner critic on demand so that I could really share my gifts with the world. And we have gotten so much demand for this process that instead of just walking you through a very short, 5-minute version of it here, I actually turned it into a PDF, like a whole guide and a guided visualization video. So it's a PDF guide, a short guided visualization video that you can watch anytime you need it on demand. And we are, for the first time ever, just is coming out today, we're releasing this for a crazy low investment of $19.97 at the time of this recording. So for a limited time, we're going to put it out for this really, really low investment, because think about it. If this is the thing, like, how much are you losing out on by not going for it? If you didn't have the fear and self-doubt and you were going for your business, what do you think that you could create in the next year? Let's say that you want to go for $100,000 in your business and you're creating $0 right now. Then it's, your self-doubt is literally costing you $100,000 a year. Truly, right? And when you look at it that way, it's like crazy, right? So we created this guide for $20, which is like, less than probably a lunch out for most people these days, or maybe about the cost of going to lunch. You can get this guide, this visualization, and you can use it anytime you need it to work through those fears and self-doubts. And I want you guys to rinse and repeat. I want you can watch this video, or, go through the process you learned in this video today, and then go through the self-doubt switch process and visualization. And if you do that consistently for the next 30 days, I hope, and I know from working with many other clients, you will see a shift if you are willing to move through your fear and actually go into action. I don't want you to just get stuck in the mindset work here, you guys. This is not why I created this guide, for you to be like just doing the mindset work again and again and again. It's great to do that. Then take the action. Take the action. What is it you're scared to do? Listen to the visualization, go out and do that thing. Right? So if you're curious about that guide, type self-doubt in the chat and we'll reach out to you. Like I said, it's $19.97 with the video and everything included. It's called the Self-Doubt Switch, Quiet Your Inner Critic, so you can get visible and grow your business without worrying what people will think. And I'm super excited about this. It's just, again, due to basically popular demand, because we guide our private clients through this. We guide people through it in our programs, but it's just something I hear again and again is what's holding people back. Portia says, I had a mentor help me prepare by visualizing all the love I would receive back from those watching the video or listening to my speech. I love that, Portia. That's great. Awesome. So Lisa, Jasmine, Portia, everybody who's saying that you want the link, what I'm going to do is put my, what do you call it? Kind of a link in the chat where you can private message me. And so go ahead and click on that link and private message me. That's going to be the easiest way. And anybody who's watching the replay, you can type self-doubt in the chat as well. But just in case we miss your message, I want you to go to m.me. So the letter m.me, M-E, / McKenna Sage Personal. So it's MAKENA personal. And that's going to send me a private message. That way, if we're not friends already, connections, otherwise I'm going to miss your message or you're going to miss mine. That's the way these things work if we're not already connected on social media. So we've covered a lot on the video today. I want to just recap one more time. The 3 ways, which were write it out, make friends with your fear, and the self-doubt switch. In that guide, you're going to discover the mindset shift, like I talked about, that will help you go from really feeling scared to put yourself out there to sharing your message with confidence. You're going to find your unique way of getting visible that makes you magnetic to your ideal clients. This is huge. And really practical tips for moving through fear and self-doubt so you can grow your business both online and offline. Even if you don't want to do a lot of online marketing, this is so key to just moving through the self-doubt in the first place. So, but like I said before, it is really important that you guys get support, whatever that looks like for you. This is a huge first step. You're going to get so much if you work the process. Don't just buy the guide and don't do it, right? It's really important that doesn't become another thing that just sits on your computer. Put aside some time in the next, week to sit down, do the process, and then continue working it, continue taking actions in the direction of where you want to go. It will make a huge difference for you. And then I highly recommend finding a mentor you resonate with, investing in that support to help you continue to up level and move through those new doubts as you go. Lisa, do you have any information about how to begin podcasts and launches? I'm not sure specifically what it is you want to know there, Lisa. It really depends. Definitely in our programs, like we've brought in a guest expert in our mastermind who teaches about who taught about how to create a top ranked podcast. He's one of the best in the industry. Launches, it really just depends. Again, a lot of people think they need these complicated online marketing launches, but it's not actually the most effective way to grow your business in the beginning. So most of the time it depends on the person. It's really about what makes you magnetic. So, and what makes you, like, what is the marketing that's really aligned for you? So if you've done all your research and you feel super clear that launches are the way you want to go, then absolutely that's something we coach on. So if you're curious more about like coaching or getting support, then I would type clarity in the chat. And then same thing, send me a private message at m.me/McKenna Sage personal. And we could talk about having a clarity call, which is like a 30-minute kind of initial coaching session to see if there's some way we feel like we could support you beyond that. So, okay, great, Lisa. So I'm going to just once again drop my link here and you can reach out to me. And thank you to everybody who came on live today, interacted here in the chat. I hope you got some value. What's your biggest takeaway from the call today? We covered a lot of information in half an hour. So just let me know, what are you taking away from today? What are you going to go out and actually apply? It's great for you to also think about, so you don't just like absorb all this information and then go forget about it 5 minutes later. So I'd love to hear from you all. What are you taking away that you're going to go out and apply? And let me see. One last thought while I'm waiting on that. It's going to take your full commitment, and it's going to take all of you to move through what's keeping you stuck here. But this is not just about building a business. This is about, and it's not even just about changing lives. It's about who you become in the process. That is, I think, why on a deeper level, so many of us want to go for the thing that's closest to our heart and soul and make that our career, our vocation, is because it takes us moving through these fears and doubts and becoming an even better version of ourselves, an even more self-expressed version of ourselves. Because those fears and doubts, if they're holding you back here, they're holding you back in other areas, right? And so it's really, this is so much more for me than about growing your business. It's about growing you as a person. And it's like, having done what I've done now in these last few years, I can carry this confidence with me into so many other things in my life, right? So many things that would have kept me stuck and held me back in the past just don't anymore, or at least I know how to move through them in such a different way. And so that is really what this is about for me. It's a mission for me that when you die someday, hopefully far, far in the future, you go, oh, I put it all out there. I left nothing on the table. Yeah. Jasmine, you said I got in late, but I'll watch the replay. Love when you do these. Awesome, Jasmine. Well, thanks for coming in, and definitely watch the replay to get the rest. All right, kill the bear. That's the number one for Lisa. I love it. Portia said take action. Great, ladies. Well, thank you again for being here live. I'll see you the next time. Have a beautiful week, and we'll be sending you, if you send us a message, we'll be sending you the info about the self-doubt switch or the clarity call, whatever you requested. So just make sure you specify in your message which one you were asking about. Okay, everyone. I love when I attend your Monday motivation. Aw, thank you. So appreciate that. All right, see you all next time. Bye.